And we are live. Welcome, everyone. It's Alex Barker, founder of the Happy Farm D. I'm so excited because I'm here today with Kim Kessler and Dr. Anais Webster Minuti, right? Close?
Yay.
Yes,
Close.
awesome.
Yay.
And today we're going to be showing you, today's the world premiere of Would You Like Shots with That?
World premiere. I like the way that sounds.
Right?
It's very exciting.
This is a documentary that you are going to want to pay close attention to. And so I want to show you just a snippet of what they've been working on. So let's go to that right. Oops.
Our pharmacy manager is actually, she's been at our store since it opened. And she just had her fifth miscarriage due to all the stress.
Hello, no one is available to take your call at this time.
Putting it flat out there, it is a different stressor when this pharmacy A is closed, but B is so busy they can't answer the phones, and C is so busy they can't pull it, and D you can't get a transfer from. The complaints that we are getting from patients and other pharmacies that got a prescription that is stuck in the system or has been processed or e-prescribed because the physicians also think it's open, and then they pull up and it's closed.
Just left our local pharmacy from dropping off a prescription for my son. Pharmacists and pharmacy techs, y'all doing all right? What the hell's going on? You're going down with the ship, it looks like. Oh my goodness.
It's just so stressful. I was talking to my primary care provider, and I was like, I need an anxiety medication.
I took my 30-minute break, but is 30 minutes in 12 hours really, is that even sufficient? If we can't answer the phone at all, that's a problem. That's a major staffing problem right there.
I was having a miscarriage and still went to work the next day with a pair of Depends on.
I mean, we're doing testing through the drive-through.
It was rushed. You learned how to give an intramuscular vaccine over the computer, and you practice on an orange, and then you practice on a person. And then they're like, here you go, here's your license, you can give shots now. It's like, whoa.
I think when we have pharmacists telling us about hundreds of prescriptions in the queue, if you can't take care of the primary business of the pharmacy and supplying those medications to the patients, then you shouldn't have extraneous services added on top of it.
Oh, and if I told you about the rodents, you would, yeah.
It gets me every time. I love it so much.
We've seen it so many times, but every single time
I know.
It's like,
That is some powerful stuff. It's stuff that I've heard for years, and you guys have done such an amazing job just in this 2-minute clip. I think if anyone watching this, you know what the issues are in pharmacy. We've been saying it for years. There is some small steps happening in certain states where boards of pharmacy are they're looking into workforce issues, and they're doing things like, well, maybe we should create new policies, but it's all really slow. This to me it's like the nitrous oxide that this machine needs to push us forward. So before we get into the project and what you guys are working on at this point in time, I think it'd be good to give people context. Who in the world are you? How did you even find out about this? So Anais, I know that you reached out to me first.
Yes.
Let's start with you. So you're a doctor, you're a pharmacist.
Yes.
Tell us
yes,
more about your career and why did you want to create anything like this? Because this is it's powerful stuff. You're making a statement, and not everyone wants to make that statement. So tell us more.
Yeah, for sure. So a little bit about my background in pharmacy. I was a pharmacy technician and an intern while I was in school. And then after I graduated, I stayed on with not the same company, but in the retail community pharmacy space. And I was a pharmacist, and I did some a lot of clinical services work at my job as well. At my time at the company I was at, I guess you have my LinkedIn so you can see where I work. But anyway,
do your research.
Do your research. But anyway, so I decided to switch over and pivot to the hospital space in 2019. But I stayed on in retail just to moonlight because I really liked the people I worked with. I had a really good relationship with the pharmacists and technicians at all the stores that I would go to. And also I had built some relationships with regular patients and customers, and it was really nice just working there every once in a while, a few days a month on my days off. Sometimes more than others. Sometimes it was like every day off for some months, but
August, there was a month there. I don't think I saw you.
No, you didn't. August of 2020, you didn't see me.
Yep.
But anyway, so then 2021, it was all the vaccines were happening, staffing was getting worse, and it felt, even though the company that I was at did and does treat pharmacists a little bit better and does give a bit more support, the balance was starting to shift a lot for me. And I was like, whoa, I don't want to be a part of a system that is unsafe for patients. And because at the end of the day, it's about patient safety and workers' rights, and worker support is about patient safety. So I decided to vote with my feet. And I ended up leaving my moonlighting job, and I just was at my hospital job. But outside of pharmacy entirely, as you can probably guess, because I'm doing a documentary film, I'm also a storyteller. So I am a writer, a novelist. I do short stories, film, and that's how I know Kim. So Kim edited my first novel. So we were an editor-client type of relationship. And we quickly learned that we really like working together. And so we were working on a project, and we were talking about pharmacy, and I would always complain about pharmacy, and I would text her tweets all the time. I'd be like, look at this tweet, look at this tweet. And so one day I texted her and I was like, I want to do a documentary about pharmacy because no one knows what's going on. And that text is actually up on our website. It was October of 2021 when I texted her. And so like right after
and you had either quit, either right before or right after this.
Right after, it was like right away. And so then Kim's like, I have a friend who can help us. I have friends who can help us. And I was like, oh, us. I mean, I'm down. I love storytelling and I would love to do it. But I was like, oh, okay, you're in. So I'll let Kim introduce herself a little bit as well.
Yeah. So I'm Kim Kessler, and I edit fiction and nonfiction. I help writers tell the stories that matter to them, and certainly have my own novel out in the world. And me and my filmmaking friends make short films and are working on our first feature. And this is our other first feature that we're doing, right? So so we got a lot of irons in the fire. I love the power of storytelling. Is magnificent. It's the thing that humans have. It's how we make meaning out of things. It's how we communicate what matters. It's how we survived as long as we have, because we can teach one another what's going on through the power of telling a story. And so I'm here to tell any story that, punches you right in the gut. And maybe some laughter, maybe some tears. I'll take all of it. And so just from that standpoint, like I'm not a pharmacist. I'm not in the medical industry at all. I'm just a layman person who gets my medication every month from my pharmacist. I drive through and they do the thing, and I have absolutely no idea what's going on behind the counter, or at least I didn't until we started doing this project. And it has been such an amazing education in what actually happens in pharmacy. And it's fascinating because I left a career in banking, and the world of retail pharmacy and the world of like consumer banking is the trajectories feel very similar. And the regulations that you have to follow in banking. I was in the audit and compliance department at one point. So like when I learn about all the controls and like segregation of duties and all the steps, I'm like, of course, that makes perfect sense. And so learning about all of the steps in a workflow to keep me as a patient safe, and then realizing how those are being disrupted by the amount of workload that's happening and then the lack of staff that there are to do all those steps. It's like, well, no freaking wonder that everyone is like melting down, because when you're in a position like that, you understand the stakes. Like I might not on the other side of the counter. I don't necessarily understand all the things that are happening. But the people who are doing the work absolutely do. And so it's been amazing to see all of the pharmacists and pharmacy technicians reach be speaking out, all of the Twitter platforms, and and the fact that your company exists, Alex, right? Like, okay, we have some problems, we have some needs that we need to address, and so I've just been a student of that since January, and just taking it in. We've talked to 50 plus people, pharmacists, pharmacy technicians, and patients, patient advocates, and it's just been amazing. And so what I get to do is I get to be the student, and I get to sit back just like our general audience that we are, that we are planning to reach with our, feature film or series, whatever it ends up making the most sense to do, and whatever streaming platform decides to host us, because that's going to happen. And so just sitting on these calls and taking in the information and asking questions and like, wait, what about this? And just putting it together and being like, oh my gosh. And then using my abilities as a storyteller to understand what an audience needs to know first, second, and third. And so anyway, it's been amazing to see it come together.
Yes. And before we jump too far in the project, we should probably introduce team member number 3 of Start With That LLC, Ethan, because he's the one
Ethan Shots. Ironically, his last name is Shots, which is hilarious, but
it's so funny.
It's on brand, right?
Yeah.
He put the clip together, so Ethan hasn't even had a chance to use a camera. And so imagine if he had the ability to do lights and camera and
it's
action.
so he bleeds documentary. And that's why as soon as Anais, reached out with those specific texts, and I was like, oh, Ethan and I, we've been making films together for several years now, short films, and we've done business films and, commercials and things like that. And so, but we're always looking for like the real heartfelt story. And I was like, this is super meaningful. And so it was really funny. Anais, you should tell the story about Ethan and how he goes to you on his email.
He did. So, So it was funny. So Kim connected us via email. I wrote a really, really long email back to Ethan with just like every detail of everything. And he's just like, okay, I don't know anything about pharmacy. And then he just didn't say anything.
I'm going to do some research, I think is what he said, right?
Research is what he said. He's like, I'm going to do some research. And then he just disappeared for a month. And so I was like, oh, okay, that guy's gone. I don't know what happened to him. And then out of the blue in either November or December, he responded, there's a lot of frustration in this subreddit. He had found he had the link too. He's like, it was the pharmacy technician subreddit.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, don't get me started on technicians. Like they take a lot of the brunt of the issues because they're the first one who interfaces with the patients and customers. A lot of the times they are not paid enough. So that's a huge point in our documentary that you could go work at McDonald's and have a lot less liability and responsibility for people's lives than be a pharmacy technician, and you get paid more. Right? And so that's a huge issue. And so when we started talking about technicians, that's when Ethan was really in, because
he found the human, right? He found the human heart in it, and he was like, because he's like, I don't understand anything about pharmacy. I get people though, and frustrated, hurting people. He's like, I get it, and I'm in. And so he and I have just like, whoa, like it's just been it's been fascinating to learn and get to advocate for the people who don't know how, who can't speak up, whether it's retaliation or anything. I mean, just even having the ability to come on here and chat with you, that's important to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. When I think about retaliation, I think about the statistics that are out there about workplace engagement and bullying. Most people don't want to say anything because they know that it could come back and bite them, right? Yes. Or nothing will happen at all.
Yes.
And when it comes to, I think, pharmacy, many people feel like, oh, if I speak up, whoever's on the board, someone's going to have a connection, right, at my place of employment, and they're going to figure out who complained. They're going to figure out what happened. But when momentum starts happening, like I believe in Missouri, the state board is finally looking into workload issues when enough people complain, when enough people say something. And that's why I think what you guys are working on with this documentary is rocket fuel, because it's not going to just I mean, pharmacists are going to come and watch this in droves. They're going to see how you present the story. and the public is going to see it too. So, and actually, one thing I do want to point out for anyone watching, a lot of people, I think, follow me for like what's going on in the job market, right? They want to know how to do something better with their career, whether it's getting out of their current job or transitioning within the company to something else. And what you did, Anais, is you made a huge gamble into something that you had no experience doing. And it's making momentum happen. Like that is a part of like creating something, an indispensable career where you're making an impact, making moves and connections. They're just naturally happening for you guys. So kudos for doing that. Kudos for taking the risk.
Thank you.
Yeah,
now,
thank you.
You've got this sizzle reel. You obviously made it during COVID when no one was allowed to see anybody. So where are you at now in the documentary process?
Yeah, so where we are today is a big day. We're putting everything in the world. We launched our GoFundMe so people can see the sizzle reel. And now we're just, we
there
are.
You go. Go here.
You.
Go to
there.
thehappyfarmd.com/documentary to go see the GoFundMe account. They've already raised 10% of their goal. Let's get them to 20. Let's get them to 100. Come on, baby.
Yes. And so our next step is to start getting on the road. And so we have a first trip planned. So we, one of the patients who we work pretty closely with, she's like, kind of acts like our fourth producer sometimes. She'll like get us contacts and she'll be like, you should go here, you should talk to this person. So she gave us the schedule for an NABP meeting. So we are going to that conference in Oklahoma City at the end of August. And a lot of people who are going to be featured in our film will be panelists. And so we thought that's a great opportunity for a first trip, which is why the amount is what it is, because that's the cost of production to get on that first trip. So every single dollar, it just rolls into production costs, and then we can take more trips. And so we have that trip planned. We also have a trip in September planned for the opening of Wellness RX's newest location. They're starting a nonprofit community-driven pharmacy in upstate New York. And so we're like, that's a perfect, hopeful message. We want hope in the pharmacy community. So we're like, we are going to be there for that grand opening. There's an art show that we would like to see. So Pablo, if people are following, Bled and Pizza is Not Working. So that artist who came up with that pharmacist painting that really captures the spirit of what people are going through in the day-to-day retail life has an art show.
Inspired by his husband, who is a pharmacist, and all the things that he had been hearing, and he put it into his painting. And so really powerful stuff. So yeah, he has a show in December in Florida, and we're really excited to get over there for that and see that and just get to talk to people as they view the film. And he's really interested in getting other people in the medical community, nurses and doctors, to see it and be there in person and have a conversation with pharmacists. And so anyway, it looks like it's going to be a really awesome event. And we just want to
we just want to get on the road. And
so many people are doing really awesome things where they can. Each state, each city, we have, each store, like you have pharmacists and pharmacy techs who are doing what they can. And sometimes what they can do best is to leave. And we get that. And that's
And sometimes
you got to do what you got to do. Absolutely.
Yes, definitely. Like nothing will change until people start leaving in droves. And then these companies are like, oh, we don't have pharmacists or techs to work, so we can't really open. And that's why a lot of these stores are closing. But we also understand for the people who are still there, not everyone can speak out. And we want to make it very clear. We understand retaliation is real. We will do anonymous interviews with you. If you would like to speak out, but you don't want your face or voice heard, we have avenues for you. Go to our website, click on the link below, and you'll see there's a Google form on our website. Fill it out. Check the boxes that I want to be anonymous. Voice disguise me. Hide this. You don't know I exist. Basically,
you could literally type it out, and me or some other amazingly talented voice actor can voice it for you. Like there are so many things that we can do to get the truth told. And that's what we're here to do.
And so we want people to kind of find that courage however you can to get all of our stories out there. And so that's our next step, is just collecting more stories in whatever form that they come to us and getting that financial support. So I will definitely be clear, come out and say it. We do need money, because flights are a lot of money. Cameras and lights are a lot of money. We are going to make a film with Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, Apple TV quality.
Yeah.
And those things are expensive. It is expensive to make a film. So we need that monetary financial support as well.
Yep.
Absolutely. I'll be donating as soon as we're done here.
Woo, woo.
But I would encourage you listener, if you think there's a problem, which I know you do, there's a workforce, work supply, demand, lack of policy to protect people. There's a lack of really lawmaking awareness on this. And this is an amazing tool that they're building to make our voices heard and to make it happen. I would encourage you to donate 1, 2, 3, heck, even 4 hours of your hourly salary job to this project. I don't have any financial gain from this. This isn't a thing produced by the Happy Farm D. These guys are separate. But if we can make this happen, we can make our voices heard. We can have the public really see it. Because, there's that New York Times article that looked at our workforce issue, and it brought some buzz. But guess what? That buzz has died down. The public doesn't care anymore.
And that person's starring, so...
Oh, hey,
that person will be in our documentary. Yeah.
That person will be in our documentary. And from the article from a couple years ago, that person will be in our documentary too. So,
so it's been really awesome to go capture and see all people who have been sowing all of these seeds, and what we can, we're reconnecting with them, and we'll be reaching out to the New York Times, etc., to be like, hey, let's do a follow-up. Like, let's get this going. And that's what I think. I mean, not only the power of storytelling, but the power of film. When you can put something on a screen, we're all used to being on our screens. It makes it so accessible, and the fact that it can become a topic of conversation. Like, we've all watched the documentaries that are out, and it spurs conversation. People make life-changing decisions based off of the information that they learn. And
like
so,
The Pharmacist, for example, that 100 million views on Netflix, it was a huge success. And so we have some aspirations of getting another pharmacist in pharmacy type documentary up to those levels. Let's do it. We actually talked to Dan the pharmacist, Dan Snyder, and we had a great conversation with him. And he says he's on board and he supports our project, and he is willing to do what he can to help us out. So he's on board with what we're doing. So
it's awesome. The level of support has just been fantastic. And it feels really good to get to be, coming alongside a movement, multiple movements, and sort of helping be like, hey guys, rally over here. Let's all rally over here, because everybody has all their efforts. And so being able to bring them together, to really get the word out to that general public that isn't in, in pharmacy, and isn't even in, healthcare, but we visit pharmacy. Either you go to a pharmacy or someone who does, and therefore you are affected by what's going on, and you should know what's happening.
Yeah. And it's not just the patient and the pharmacist, but it's the pharmacist family too. I mean, we're talking easily like another 1 to 2 million people that are directly affected by these pharmacists and their workload and what they have to deal with.
Yeah.
This is going to change lives. So let's leave on a positive note. And I'd love to hear from maybe both of you or collectively. What is like the tangible dream that you're aiming for here? I've heard Netflix, Amazon, we want to get it on here. But imagine that it's real. This thing, it's done, it's finished. What do you hope this documentary will do?
Yeah, I'll just kind of say what I said in that initial email to Ethan. And at the end, because he asked me the same thing. He's like, what is your vision and dream? And I said, I want this to be, if it can be, as big as The Pharmacist, that 100 million views. Everyone's talking about it. Have you seen Would You Like Shots with that? Wow. I had no idea that was happening. And really just take pause and kind of understand what's going on in the pharmacy community, so that we'll start with like the basics. So at the basic level, people are just kinder to their pharmacy staff. Like, we understand that there's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of pandemic burnout. There's a lot going on in the world right now. And people who are working, I'm going to just say all service jobs, people are taking a lot of the brunt of that who are working with the general public. But sometimes if you know what's going on in the other person's shoes, there's a little bit more kindness. And so, but part of that frustration is real. If you're a patient who can't get your medication for days on end, that is extremely frustrating. The frustration is warranted, so that I understand when someone is yelling at you, you understand where they're coming from a lot of the time, but we need the support from companies to staff their pharmacies well enough so that people can have their prescriptions filled. So it's just a seamless, easy relationship, so the pharmacist has time to do things like counsel and give immunizations and take their time to do all of these safety checks, and technicians can get paid enough so that they can actually find a fulfilling career that can take care of their families in a pharmacy like they used to be able to. And so bringing some of that back, so those tangible things, that there's enough staff and support in pharmacies so that we have better reaction or better relationships again. Because if I think back to my earlier time as a pharmacist and like as a tech, good customer service starts with a filled prescription, is what I had a pharmacy manager say to me. And so if you correctly and safely filled prescription is what they would actually say. And so if you, yes, we'll add that in. But
I love the completeness of that statement. Like, I love it.
If you can do that, then you usually have really positive interactions all the time for both people, and it's just it's fine, and you build those good relationships, and people like coming to your pharmacy, and people have rapport with you, and it's just a nice, chill, fulfilling job, and it needs to get back there. So
it can be that again.
And it can be that again. It can. And so it can. And so that's going to take, maybe it'll take these corporations, it'll take legislation, there's a lot of things that it'll take to get there. But however we get there, that is my vision.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only other thing I would add is just informing the general public so that they can get pissed off enough to make a move, to say something. Like, you know, when people can get really, like, people should be frustrated. They should be upset. It's not acceptable the way that it is. And you need people to know, right, to understand, like, what the real problem is. Because I think right now it's a lot of, like, it feels like, you know, patients or customers feel like, the pharmacist or the pharmacy staff. And it's like, they're not your enemy. You guys are on the same side. And so being able to like cool that problem between them and look and step back and look at like where the real issue and the root is coming from, so that we can focus all of our justified righteous anger
righteous indignation.
There you go, righteous indignation, because I think that's what it takes. One of my favorite examples of the power of storytelling is there's a book, this is Silent Spring, and it is what led to the EPA being created. And so someone being able to take, you know, to tell a story, to tell the truth in a way that the general public can perceive and is interested enough to get through the book, you know, to take in, and those kinds of things, like that's what we're here to do. We're here to make big change like that. So.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, today is their first day for their GoFundMe. As of this moment, they are 10% of the way there. Let's get those numbers up. I see Laura here commenting, saying she'll be donating. So
thank you, Laura.
Way to join the team. And she does ask this question: can this be shared?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, get the word
do.
out.
Yes.
Of course. Please be sharing, and you can do that by easily going to thehappypharmd.com/documentary. That'll take you right to their GoFundMe page. Let's make it happen. I'm excited to see this project come, and I'm assuming that your work won't be done right? Once this GoFundMe, so we will definitely have you back.
Step one. Trip number one.
Step one.
But the thing we said this from the very beginning, that, you know, we're here to make it happen, like however long it takes us to do it. I told someone the other day, I'm like, I don't want to feel like a road comic, but I will do it. Like, you know, we can, if we have to drive from place to place and stay in super crappy hotels, like I will do that thing. It'll just take us way longer. And so again, the more funds that we can raise, the faster and more efficient we can tell the story. Because we're telling the truth about what already has happened. And so it's not like we're following let's say like a campaign that's going to be happening over the next 3 years. We have to capture 3 years of footage and then cut it together and then release it. Like, we just need to capture what's going on right now, what's already happened. And we can, once we get that, we can put it out into the world. So, anyway, we're ready. We're ready to do it.
Ready to do it.
Me too, baby. Let's go.
All right. Woo.
Thank you,
do it.
Kim.
Thank
you, Alex.
Thank you so much. All right. Have a great day, everyone else.